Terra Polaris. Vast, icy spaces located in the world's polar regions. Remarkable places. And home to amazing natural survivors. Spitsbergen is one of the Arctic's islands. Longyearbyen, capital of the island, is where our journey begins to this largely uninhabited, unspoilt wilderness of ice. The first indication of the existence of these islands was recorded in 1194. The major attraction is the Svalbard Museum that is situated in what was once a stable, one of the town's oldest buildings that provides much information on this region. It covers the Arctic's animal and plant life, its geography, climate and geology. Today, this former coal settlement has been transformed into a centre of tourism. With no roads here, journeys are mainly by ship. Passengers gather in the dining room where the captain, officers and service manager have organised a warm reception. The daily routine is explained and important information given. And finally, a toast to a successful trip. We arrive at Kongsfjorden, our first destination in Spitsbergen. Each passenger is kitted out with special clothing for the excursions, weatherproof trousers, jackets and boots. Essential kit for the severe conditions. To the rear, misty, steep scree slopes and sheer rock walls. The nature here is overwhelming. Wearing suitable clothing, the trip ashore begins with a boat ride. In Zodiacs, robust inflatable boats, which give us our first real experience of the Arctic Ocean. The icebergs here appear to be small, but of course, that's only the tip of the iceberg. The Quaternary is a subdivision of geological time that began 2 million years ago, during the most recent period of geological time known as the Ice Age. Sailing further north, it's easy to lose one's sense of direction. All the banks look the same in the fog. We arrive at Ny Ålesund, the northernmost permanent settlement in the world. As the ship cannot dock here, the Zodiacs are used to take us to the small boat harbour. The area was mined until 1963. A coal train once led to a loading station on the nearby shore. Coal mining was the basis of the Spitsbergen settlement. Many people came to this desolate place. There's a small post office. This, the northernmost post office in the world, is only open during the summer months. However, it's a popular attraction, especially among the passengers of the various cruise ships that come here. A bust depicts Roald Amundsen, the famous Norwegian polar explorer who was the first man to reach the South Pole. 1596, Dutch explorer Willem Barents discovered this remote archipelago for Europe and considered its unexpectedly emerging coastline to be part of Greenland. Something still uncertain today. And even when the Vikings came here, once again, the anchor chain is extended. The Zodiacs are launched. Clever little craft that were designed by Jacques Cousteau. Our next adventure commences, now almost a routine. The biting rush of cold air makes the temperature seem even colder. Our group marches bravely up the embankment after landing on Mushamna, where there's a magnificent view. Despite the Arctic altitude and the short growing season, the fauna is amazingly diverse. However, the plants of the polar tundra must fight for survival, with low temperatures, high winds, and the movement of the soil. Wet areas contain lush green and red mosses on both rock and stone, a mass of up to 10,000-year-old lichen. Due to the permafrost soil, only shallow waters form in summer, which are used by the plant life to extend their shallow roots. And everywhere, amazing sights. Just fascinating. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a hunting lodge appears. Smoke indicates that it's inhabited, a place of solitude and tranquility. Glaciers form the landscape, a harsh environment with ever-changing weather. Back to the ship. A tasty lunch beckons. This is hungry work. During the meal, the ship has moved on and has now reached Liefdefjorden. Today's modern equipment makes trips to the Arctic Ocean more accessible than ever before. In the Arctic, climate change is very apparent. The bays freeze over later than they did in the past. The passengers take in the scenery, and another expedition arrives in the bay. The journey through the Liefdefjorden is part of each trip to the Arctic. Several glaciers form the typical landscape. 60% of the island is covered with ice, and thick accumulations of both snow and ice slowly move to the coast by their own weight. As the ice stream flows, its icy front breaks off into the sea. When chunks of ice break off the glacier, it's called the calving. The broken chunks of ice form the floating icebergs whose journeys begin here, in all shapes and sizes. We travel around the northern spurs of Svalbard and reach Spitsbergen. The Zodiacs take us to the shore. A group of walruses swims just off an island. A boat traveling close to them. A dangerous but also rewarding adventure. The first walruses lived here in the Miocene period, 23 million years ago. The young walrus are brilliant swimmers. And here's a large colony of walrus on the banks. But soon, two competitive bulls disturb the peace and unsettle the entire group. Our journey continues. The ship awaits us. We arrive at one of the region's 7 islands, the northernmost point of our journey. Next, the danger of pack ice. This is the land of the polar bear, the Arctic's most famous carnivore, a magnificent but merciless predator. However, the signs of climate change are everywhere. Now the pack ice often becomes porous, and the polar bears cannot wander the same areas as they did before. The ship's bridge is now fully staffed, each member of the crew in place and the captain fully focused. Polar bears often wander for weeks without finding anything to eat, so they must be constantly vigilant. They usually keep to the coast and on the sea ice. The pack ice is becoming denser and stronger. A harp seal flees from its ice floe. But soon a group of hungry polar bears hunt it down. The cycle of nature. Polar bears have sensitive hearing and an excellent sense of smell. They can sense seals up to 1 kilometer away. They can also track prey beneath a 1 meter thick sheet of snow and ice. Heading south again, the pack ice is left behind. And now the next experience, the sight of humpback whales. Humpback whales live in every ocean. However, the northern animals migrate in summer to the North Sea, and those in the south migrate to the South Polar Sea. Reproduction takes place in tropical waters. After a 12-month gestation period, the young ones are born. The cliffs at Alkefjellet are situated in the high Arctic area. The Gulf Stream has hardly any effect here. The Bruneches guillemots favor the high Arctic region and its cliffs. But suddenly a single polar bear moves along the rocky coast. The bear wants to steal the eggs from the birds' nests and feed. But it's a risky business. Little way out. We continue south and pass large islands. The Arctic Ocean is ice-free, although the mild Gulf Stream doesn't flow here. In front of Faxewagen, the Zodiacs take us to the island. This has now become an efficient routine. Next, a short walk in the tundra. The North Pole lies beneath the ice-covered Arctic Ocean. South of it is the tundra, a treeless landscape with little plant life. This section of the Earth's surface, which today forms Spitsbergen and its many islands, was once located beneath the sea. One of the last primeval landscapes of our planet. The Valberg fjords contain seemingly endless glaciers which flow directly into the Arctic Ocean. In Kloverbladbukta, the Zodiacs once again take us ashore, and soon our ship disappears from view. Guides await on the remote coast, and our next sightseeing tour can begin. Here too the coast is of tundra, and because the water is not able to seep away into the permafrost, streams, lakes and marshes form. Our journey leads across weather-beaten, jagged rocks. The solitude here is limitless. The Arctic polar region has always been one of the harshest regions of our blue planet. The growing season is short, and so seed production and blossoming takes place within just a few weeks. Reindeer are not fazed by the cold, lack of food, or the presence of people. They're completely at home here. Back on board, and our journey continues along the south coast of Nordøstlandet. Here the sea is calm and it's time to relax. The Planchus has operated in polar waters since January 2010 and is fitted with a diesel-electric motor system. The ship moves almost silently. At Torrelneset, the tip of the island, we embark on our next trip ashore. Here too, scattered flowers defy the inhospitable climate close to the North Pole. A small colony of walrus has taken up residence here. Once there were thousands, each one trawling the seabed in search of food. But in the 18th century, whalers and sealers slaughtered them mercilessly for their ivory. Sadly, after just a few decades, hardly any of them survived. The journey continues south, back along the island of Spitsbergen. Our voyage travels past the Brasvelbrien Glacier, whose snow-white appearance impressively demonstrates the incredible power of this world of ice. Icefalls can create a dangerous current for ships, and the passage between the islands can be quite hazardous. glaciers give way to black cliffs of very resistant Hekla-Hurk rock. Another trip ashore is planned. With the already familiar zodiacs, we arrive at Budalfjellet. A colony of gulls nests in the tors of the cliffs throughout the entire year. They usually lay 2 to 4 eggs and then defend their nests aggressively. The cries of the young gulls at feeding time has woken up a hungry Arctic fox. Stealthily, but still half asleep, it creeps along the craggy rock walls. However, unsuccessfully, because the gulls' nests are placed on inaccessible rocks, and the fox's still dark summer fur betrays it. It discovers some eggs which it soon devours. Nearby, a reindeer searches for food located beneath the snow and ice. Everything is investigated. A daily struggle for survival. The Plantius continues the journey south. The captain navigates the ship between large ice floes that gradually become icebergs. We arrive at Edgøya, the 3rd largest island of Svalbard. This time the Zodiac takes us on a freezing adventure around the island. The boatman navigates between a large number of icebergs that are traveling in a southerly direction. From the small boats, the icebergs seem even more powerful and unpredictable. It takes some time for these huge blocks of ice to come to rest. The currents force them towards the sea, where they are popular with the seagulls. For hundreds of thousands of years, the glacier ice has traveled from the valleys of the inland to the Arctic coast and then to the sea. Particularly exciting is the sight of the Muldbach Glacier, its surface becoming increasingly weaker as it approaches the ocean. Here, the glacier's tongue extends into the sea. Deeply fissured, it reaches the border between land and water. Each year, up to 35 billion tons of ice flow from the glaciers to the sea. On deck, the crew has prepared a barbecue, a unique party in the Arctic Ocean. The great outdoors makes one both hungry and thirsty. A visit to Varselbukta on Edgøya Island is the last trip ashore on our Arctic journey. In this already warmer area, there's more life. The browsing reindeer are not afraid of people because they're never threatened by them. For a short time in summer, the snow and ice sheets on the coast melt, and the scene is transformed from endless white to one of color and life. A gull mother is closely monitoring the first steps of her young. and mercilessly chasing a grazing reindeer cub that has moved too close to her young. The final leg of our journey leads to the southern tip of Spitsbergen, back to where our journey began. The captain invites us for a cocktail.
Good, thank you very much. But I want to say thank you very much.
The completion of a fascinating cruise in the waters of the Polar Sea. Through the icy world of the Arctic. The Antarctic lies far away from the civilized world, the sixth continent at the South Pole, one of the most beautiful places on Earth. A spectacular wilderness of snow, ice and rock, and the last vast ecosystem on our planet. It is in Ushuaia, the most southerly city in the world, that the expedition begins by cruise ship to some of the most remote locations in the Antarctic. This, the capital of an Argentine province, has become a booming city. At the end of the last century, it was a penal colony. Today, it is the popular tourist center of Tierra del Fuego. In 1869, Anglican missionaries established a humble settlement here and began to convert the local native Indians to Christianity. The harbour is situated in the centre of the city. Mountains are the setting. The city is a combination of mountain village and fjord settlement. Next, we board our ship. The luggage is loaded, and the external cabins are fully stocked for 2 weeks. Antarctic cruisers don't exactly rough it, and a journey through eternal ice is about to commence. The ship, the MS Andrea, leaves the gateway to the White Continent. Travelling past various cargo ships that lie at anchor, the route takes us through the Beagle Canal and also Drake Passage. While the lounge area is warm and comfortable, the weather outside is showing its typical character. In other words, demonstrating all 4 seasons in just 2 hours. Today, the cruise ships that visit the Antarctic are equipped with the most modern technology. From the South American mainland, our journey will travel along the imaginary border that lies between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, and towards the continent of Antarctica. Just off Deception Island, Zodiacs take passengers ashore. The sturdy rubber boats transport us to one of the largest and most impressive crater islands in the world. To a bay where in former times whale hunters anchored. Their decayed wooden huts and rusty old canisters, a reminder of bygone times. Today, penguins inhabit the southernmost blubber kitchen in the world. From 1911 to 1931, this was a hive of activity. Whaling ships came, and it was here that the whale carcasses were prepared, their fat being a rich source of engine oil. We returned to the ship. The journey continues towards the South Pole, through the Antarctic night. It's time for the captain's dinner. A treat indeed. and almost everyone has forgotten the icy world outside. The boat makes its way along the icebergs, glaciers, and snow-covered islands. This is the coldest, driest, and most deserted continent on Earth. One of the few great untouched wildernesses. Each gangway has been prepared. Shoes must be disinfected before the Zodiac transports passengers ashore. The first gangway leads to the top of a rocky tongue of land, Jugla Point. This is the home of the Gentoo penguin that spends 8 wintry months on the edge of the pack ice. The food here is plentiful. When the conditions are suitable, the penguins go on land to breed. Fledgling Gentoo penguins hatch after 39 days. The number of tourists permitted to visit this natural spectacle is strictly controlled. Back to the ship. Next, the weather changes and we shall explore a nearby bay that is sheltered by various glaciers, a natural harbour, Port Lockroy. The ships of both whale and seal hunters once also anchored here. In 1944, a British research station was founded, and it's now the oldest British building in the Antarctic. In 1962, it was abandoned and became an historic site, a legendary outpost of civilization. Our ship awaits us. Suddenly, the sun comes out. The journey through the Lemaire Channel is one of the most spectacular ship passengers one could ever experience. Everything looks absolutely newly created. The waterway is about 15 kilometers long and here and there only a few hundred meters wide. Snow-covered islands and floating icebergs accompany our journey. The captain guides the ship skillfully between ice floes. Occasionally another ship is encountered while travelling to the southernmost point of our trip, Petermann Island, one of many small islands that lie off the icy mainland. There was once a research station here with scientists spending many long months going about their work. Penguins are well at home here and build their nests out of small pebbles in rock walls or on the craggy shoreline. Now begins the most impressive leg of our adventure, a journey by Zodiac through the pack ice, a journey through an iceberg avenue. Gleaming white icebergs pass by, broken remnants of the eternal ice in which is stored the history of our planet. Icebergs are able to float in the oceans for up to 20 years, constantly changing both in color and form. There are sections of the Arctic mainland ice that are up to 120,000 years old. Well sheltered between huge icebergs and the immense glaciers of the high mainland mountains is Paradise Bay. As its name suggests, a place of calm and with a natural harbour. The red wooden huts belong to Argentina's Estación Almirante Brown. For many years it was uninhabited, but today it's operating once again. Cute Gentoo penguins seem to enjoy the local entertainment. But soon the passengers return to the ship that is anchored in the bay. Close by is Nico Harbour. Thousands of Gentoo penguins nest here in the rocks and bring up their young. They return here year after year. The time when millions of penguins were slaughtered here is now long gone. Since 1964, the Antarctic Ocean has been protected by animal conservation. Further into the unknown, we arrive at Livingston Island. It's 70 kilometers long and 25 kilometers wide and has several bays. It's one of the final refuges of the macaroni penguin. Measuring around 70 centimeters, they are distinguishable by their golden feathers that grow in a tuft on their head and neck, and by their strong red beak and dimensions. A group of elephant seals is also to be seen here among the penguins. They pose no threat at all to their feathered compatriots. The largest of all seal species, the elephant seal is at home in the maritime region of the subarctic. Following its near extinction, its population has now recovered and totals around 700,000. In spring, the bulls are the first to mark their territory on land, then follow the pregnant females who give birth to their young here. Whales accompany the ship through the protected waters of the English Strait and Ho Island. Penguins form our welcoming committee. Now they seem to be completely unafraid as the time of their mass slaughter has long gone. Penguins are endothermic and have a body temperature of between 37 and 38 degrees Celsius. A thick layer of fat protects them from hunger and cold. The Antarctic, a continent that is still in a primeval state. The Norwegian Roald Amundsen was the first to reach it on the 14th of December 1911, followed some months later by English explorer Robert Scott. Next we arrive at Elephant Island, the northernmost of the South Shetland Islands. The last bastion of the Antarctic towers majestically from amid the Antarctic Ocean. A trip ashore is announced. Zodiacs take us to the bay. Inhabited by penguins and seals, this island was made famous by explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton. Shackleton arrived in these waters on his ship the Endurance while on a trans-Arctic expedition. But the ship became trapped by ice. However, with 28 of his men and 3 small boats, and after 7 days of hell, he landed on Elephant Island. Today, the perils of the Scotia Sea are well known, and the captain and his crew are well used to these waters. Shackleton made his journey on a small, fragile boat that was only 6 meters long and covered with sailcloth. Traveling into the sunset, the adventures of those few courageous men who first came here are recalled. Finally, South Georgia Island. We go ashore north of the island in Andrews Bay, and this time are greeted by a group of king penguins. They grow up to 95 centimeters tall, are quite slim, and weigh around 15 kilograms. Their habitat is the temperate sub-Antarctic. They number around 2 million and lay only a single egg that they protect between their legs for 8 weeks. Young seals play without a care in the huge colony of penguins, a natural paradise on the second largest island of the Antarctic archipelago. Brown feathers indicate the young penguins. They live within well-guarded groups, surrounded by a number of cockalorums, which are easily identified. Further along the northern coast, Cumberland Bay. The tiny cemetery of Grytviken was the final resting place of Sir Ernest Shackleton. He died of a heart attack when he arrived here during his last adventure in South Georgia. Also here are the rusty remains of a former whaling station. In 1906, Captain Larsen came here with 3 ships. He was one of the first whale hunters. James Cook created one of the saddest chapters of this region's history when he reported the existence of whales and seals. So began the merciless slaughter of these wonderful creatures. The next port of call is Hercules Bay, another natural paradise whose inhabitants no longer fear the approach of man. The island of South Georgia is a kind of Arctic Serengeti, a peaceful habitat for various wildlife. The Terra Incognita Australis is an unspoilt wilderness, and its coastline is a breeding place for many colonies of wildlife. Skillfully, the boatmen negotiate the surf, and the ship proceeds to Fortuna Bay. Again, Zodiacs transport those who wish to explore the bay. This is a land of seals, mammals that developed from 4-footed land animals. A footpath leads up a hill and over rough terrain that is for most of the year covered by snow and ice. From above, there's a glorious view across Stromness Bay, as seen by Shackleton when he finally reached South Georgia. A serene landscape. Penguins bathe and drink in shallow pools. However, today man understands and nature forgives. Now penguins and baby seals live happily between the old and rusty remnants of those early days. The ship appears in the bay and heads for our next destination. Salisbury Plain, a fine sight. Thousands of king penguins inhabit the beach and hills, along with a number of seals. Amazing, a jumble of heads and beaks that creates a pattern of white and orange. Seeing the snow-covered mountains and beaches covered with wildlife, one becomes even more aware of the amazing beauty of this region, yet also the fragile nature of the Antarctic and its wildlife. It is vital that everyone fully understands the balance of nature in the Antarctic in order that this natural paradise can be protected for future generations. A number of smaller islands lie just off the main island, such as Prion Island, where there are further surprises. Royal albatrosses and giant petrel breed on this tiny and mysterious island, well sheltered by the island's tall tussock grass. Relentless, strong winds assist the first flying experiences of the young, the future wanderers of the seas. Far from the world's trading routes, this region has never been colonized. No other continent is as unexplored and undiscovered. And for scientists, it continues to possess many enigmas and secrets yet to be revealed. The eternal ice and dreamy, thought-provoking landscapes of the White Continent, where the ice is up to 3,000 meters thick. Next, we leave the island of South Georgia and head for the Falkland Islands on our return journey to the South American mainland. Strong seas and icy storms have always made navigation extremely precarious in this part of the world. On the southeastern edge of a group of islands, around 500 kilometers from the South American mainland, is Sea Lion Island, one of many small islands in this area. Friendly penguins yet again. This island is mainly inhabited by the sea lion, a variety of seal that is to be found on the Falkland Islands and on the South American coastline. The bulls and their harems lie lazily on the beach and exchange caresses. Various varieties of bird have found a safe home on this remote island. This, the last almost untouched ecosystem on our planet, is also gradually, but very slowly, entering the 21st century. Stanley, capital of the island. And 700 islands, of which 29 are inhabited. Most of its 1,600 population live here, a far-flung outpost of the former British Empire. In 1843, Stanley became the seat of the governor of the British Crown. Over the centuries, whale hunting was the island's main source of income. And prior to the opening of the Panama Canal, thousands of ships anchored here before navigating around the dangerous Cape Horn on their way to the Pacific Ocean. Now history and a long and glorious past. Whether the icy world that surrounds the North Pole, or the spectacular wilderness of ice, snow and rock which forms the South Pole, the Arctic and Antarctic are the most recent eco-paradises on planet Earth.